All right, everyone. Stock Car Scott, aka Phil Scott, the governor of the state of Vermont, is a goofball. So it's time for Vermont Issues, Episode 7. Governor Phil Scott, more concerned with Canadians than Vermonters. Apparently, that's the case. The last two times he's been spoken of at all within our local news. What are they saying? One is a fluff piece saying, oh, he wins Thunder Road. Your governor is a good stock car racer, which has nothing to do with policy. Maybe personality. Okay, he's a personable guy. He goes to a brewery and gets, wasted and then drives cars around. That's fine. That doesn't mean anything as far as taxation. It doesn't mean anything as far as any other issue that we would be discussing, but okay, he's personable. That's just wonderful. But now we find Phil Scott delivering a fairly lengthy expose with the other governors in the country on protecting our relationship with Canada, basically soothing the Canadians, making sure they don't worry too much. Part of this makes sense because Vermont shares a border with Canada. We're one of those border states, and people conveniently forget that, and there is a lot of tourism here, especially from Quebec. People come, and for some odd reason, people that already live in the wilderness want to come see our wilderness. But more power to you. I mean, it means more money for the state as far as tourism goes, so I guess that's okay. They come and they see things. Watch the trees turn color. Buy a gallon of maple syrup and maybe go for a dip in Lake Champlain or something like that. Oh, look, little red barns. Those are cows. They're really cute and stuff. They're actually, generally, they're quite tasty, but I guess you could call them cute. They are a little bit, okay. They do licky things and make cute little sounds. But here he is. He weighs in, for instance, on the marijuana issue. The legislature backs legalization. The citizens back legalization. The courts have no problem with legalization. He stands in the way, says, no, it's not the time, go negotiate it more. And then he shuts up about it, won't say anything about it. When's the last time he delivered a significant speech on the opiate epidemic, which is tied right into that same issue? When's the last time he mentioned, oh yeah, by the way, taxes in this state are burdensome on business and on citizens, private citizens alike. People can't get ahead, blah, blah, blah. No, instead we find him delivering a speech to the other governors. Instead of pointing out, hey, Vermont's economic model doesn't work, and we want to get it working again, lower taxes and regulatory fees enough so that businesses can thrive here, so that we can continue to exist as a state, so that, the majority of people who graduate actually want to stay in the state, weather aside. Instead of doing that, he's rambling about Canada and how he's worried that the Canadians are afraid now because Trump happens to be in office. And Phil Scott's a Republican. He's the weirdest Republican ever. He sits there, and he's done this before, and he lambasts Donald Trump, who is, again, supposedly, he's kind of a Republican. Trump's not really a partisan. Phil Scott's not the most hyper-partisan Republican you could imagine. Either. I wanted Listman, honestly, to be the candidate. He would have won over Sue Minter, probably by a larger margin. I begrudgingly voted for Scott because, there's no libertarian candidate. The only other person running is crazy socialist from the from Liberty Union. So who else? It's either there's no one else to cast a ballot for. I could have voted for Mickey Mouse, I guess, but what would have been the point? Now, Phil Scott, it was fairly clear, was going to win anyway at that point, because he's more reserved, and Sue Minter, all of her ads were basically, we've got a gun problem in Vermont, as in private citizens have too many guns, not even any crime associated with them. And she was just a Bloomberg, far leftist gun hawk, which is what she was. And people don't take too kindly to that around these parts, even if a lot of them are liberal. They sort of back off on the gun rights. Even Sanders did. Even Bernie Sanders in the debate, he's talking about how he doesn't have a big problem with guns. He's like, oh, people need to understand that there's a difference between the rural people of my home state and guns and people living in a big city, or something like that. And he's kind of right, and Hillary Clinton attacked him for this, so did the DNC. It's they're the ones that want to rob everybody of the right to self-defense, because it makes them easier to control, I guess. But then we've got little Phil, And little Phil just wants to race stock cars, drink beer, and talk about Canada. Oh, please, Canadians, come visiting our state. Nobody's going to stop visiting the state of Vermont, of all places, right across the border because it happens to be convenient, and there's, nice maple syrup and stuff, and good skiing. Is anybody really going to say, well, I was going to vacation in Vermont, but Donald Trump is the president of the United States, so I don't think I will. If a person has gotten to the point where they actually believe that Donald Trump is such a horrible Hitler-esque bigot that he's going to start suddenly detaining a bunch of Canadians because they happen to have come here for a vacation holiday. If somebody actually believes that to be the case, I submit that they've been totally brain scrambled by propaganda. Because it's simply not going to happen. Nobody here in the United States has a problem with people coming here as tourists. The debate is mostly about the southern border and about illegal immigration. It has very little to do with tourism. It has little to do with work visas and things like that. And so far, my prediction has come true, which is that Trump has focused on those who have come here and committed a crime. So unless those same Canadians are coming over here looking to murder or rape or something like that, they have nothing to worry about. And Phil Scott pretends it's a big problem. Like, he's the governor of the state of Vermont. Other than the tourist question involved with maybe another state or involved with another country, why should he even care about these issues? That's not his job description. He's the governor of the state of Vermont. He's supposed to be talking about issues that impact primarily the population of this state. Not every tourist that comes to Vermont is a Canadian, by the way. And you can think whatever you want about the migrant and refugee and immigration question overall, but what does that have to do with his job as governor? Beyond saying, yeah, Vermont's, we're continuing to do the same thing we've always done. We're open for business. You're coming here as a tourist. Who the hell is going to harass you for that? It's just not going to happen. It's not like Phil Scott or any other governor is mobilizing the armed forces residing in the state to go hunt down ethnic minorities or something like that. It wouldn't work in Vermont because it's almost homogenous. I'm failing to see exactly why this needed to be brought up as a major issue that needs to be reported on. It's not even like, the Burlington Free Press, WCAX, is talking about it. It's not even that. It's like, the national news is regarding what he said. So he gets, again, for like the third or fourth time since the election, again, Vermont is in the national news for the wrong reason. It was Rutland is taking refugees and not listening to people under our former mayor, who has been forced out because of this, because he didn't consult the people or even the individuals within these various councils that he could have been taking some advice from, or at least getting their passive consent. Okay, I don't have a problem with it. Let's resettle refugees in Rutland. Then it was because the mayor got forced out because of that, and the refugee resettlement program was here in Vermont was essentially destroyed because Trump was elected. I think they expected Hillary would be elected, so it wouldn't be a problem. And then it was the medical marijuana issue, where our governor is the only person apparently in the state standing in the way, and now you've got this. Oh, we're worried about what Canadians will think of Vermont. What are you talking about, Phil? I don't get it. Do we not have a pension as like the bluest state in the country? Then why would anybody in another country? Why would they assume, oh yeah, Vermont's going to have like jackbooted Gestapo thugs marching up and down the streets waiting to snatch up anybody who's a foreigner and throw them in a concentration camp? The sort of imagery that's evoked by statements like this is nonsensical. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. This is the state of Vermont. We do things a little bit differently. And if Trump were mobilizing the jackboots, we would be one of the places that would fight back against that. But he's not doing that. That's the point. The people getting deported have committed crimes while they were here in the country. And certain other classes of people that are being temporarily forced out, more or less. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Trump engages in a little bit of roundabout catch and release with some of these classes of people. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. He's already moderated a half dozen of the things that he said he wanted to do during the campaign. And he never even stated that he wanted to mass deport everyone who was illegally here. That's something the alt-right heard and was optimistic that would happen, and the far left heard and was like, oh no, we're taken over by fascists. But he never even said these things. And for Scott to weigh in on this, to say that the governor of Vermont has any specific sway over federal immigration policy, I think that's hilarious. I think you've bitten off a little bit more, honestly, than you can chew on this one. You should go back to worrying about jobs within this state, policies within this state that affect directly Vermonters themselves, because you're not the governor of the United States, you're not the governor of New England, you're not the governor of Canada, you're the governor of the state of Vermont. That's about all. Peace out.